I'll wait about
Oh.
one more minute and then we'll
Nope,
get started.
It looks like he just came in.
All right. Just check and make sure he can hear and everything. Want to check his sound?
Yep. Fred Strathmeyer, can you hear us?
I can.
We just want to make
Wonderful.
sure you're sounding good. So that is everybody.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we'll get started now. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm David Barish, Chairman of the Pennsylvania Gaming Control Board. Before we begin, I'd like to note that this meeting is being held via video teleconference with board members and other participants in different locations in furtherance with the directives given to us by state health officials and the governor's office pertaining to the social distancing requirements due to the COVID-19 pandemic. On March 11th, 2020, the Commonwealth's Office of Open Records issued an advisory as to how state and local agencies could conduct themselves in compliance with the Sunshine Act, given these unprecedented circumstances. The advisory provides that under these emergency circumstances, the public business of the Commonwealth can be conducted via teleconference or video conference, so long as a mechanism was in place to allow for public access. We have done that here by providing public access to this video and audio of this meeting through the board's website, as well as by publishing the call-in information for this video conference for those who may not have internet access. Additionally, as is always the case, we have a court reporter, I believe, who is here to transcribe this meeting. All that being said, again, I'd ask everyone who's in on this call to please keep your equipment on mute unless and until you are going to be speaking. And then when you do that, please make sure that it's clear for the court record who is speaking. Thank you very much. So let's get started. In addition to our 7 board members, we also have Fred Strathmeyer here representing Russell Redding, Secretary of Agriculture, Jen Langen representing Joe Torsella, State Treasurer, and Christine Heidingsfelder representing Secretary of Revenue Dan Hassel. Thank you all for being here this morning. Quorum of the board members being present, I will call these proceedings to order. First order of business, the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Before we get started with our formal business this morning, we have some presentations of service awards to Gaming Control Board employees, which will be made by our Executive Director, Kevin O'Toole. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning, Chairman. Good morning, members of the board. Today, I'm pleased to continue the process that we began 5 years ago in recognizing employees for their years of service. This is always a terrific occasion to recognize the dedication and the loyalty of employees who have clearly and significantly contributed to the success of our agency. Due to COVID-19, our recognition of employees will not unfortunately be in person, but some are able to be with us today via Zoom. By way of background, the Pennsylvania Gaming Control Board recently met its own milestone of 15 years in existence. In 2005, the agency began its mission to regulate the new casino industry in Pennsylvania and to build from the ground up a staff of qualified and talented professionals. We have 5 persons who were at or near the ground floor at the agency's startup and will be recognized today for their 15-year anniversary as employees of the Gaming Control Board, 3 of whom are able to be with us today via Zoom. Additionally, we have 10 other employees who have reached the 10-year milestone of employment, 1 of whom is with us today. So let me start with our 15-year service award recipients. Susan Hensel, good morning, Susan. Susan was the first official employee of the Gaming Control Board. She was hired in January of 2005 as a special assistant. In August of that year, Susan became the board's director of licensing, a position she holds today. In her tenure with the Gaming Control Board, Susan has been instrumental in the coordination of all licensing functions, including the development of licensing policies, procedures, and regulations. Congratulations, Susan, on this milestone, and thank you very much for your service.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susan.
Thank you.
If we were in our public meeting room, I'd be shaking your hand right now. Our second 15-year award recipient is Amanda Peters. Good morning, Amanda.
Morning.
Amanda was hired in February of 2005 as a clerical support specialist. Within a few months of her hire, Amanda became the Gaming Control Board's procurement specialist. In that role, Amanda ensured that services and goods were procured in accordance with the Commonwealth Procurement Code. Today, Amanda serves as the acting director of our Office Services Department, which is part of our Bureau of Administration. Congratulations, Amanda. Thank you very much for your service.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And our third recipient is Deborah Joyce. Good morning, Deb.
Good morning.
Deb was hired in August of 2005 as a paralegal. Today, Deb works in our Bureau of Financial Management and Administration. Deb has a variety of responsibilities, not the least of which is being our records retention manager, as well as the agency's open records officer. Congratulations, Deb, on this milestone, and thank you very much for your service.
Thank you, Kevin.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I would also like to recognize two other 15-year milestone employees. April Fegley, our licensing manager in the Special Services Unit of the Bureau of Licensing, and Lisa McLean, our Deputy Chief Counsel for Licensing in the Office of Chief Counsel. April and Lisa have both attained their 15-year milestones. Today with us for her 10-year anniversary is Kenita Jackson. Good morning, Kenita.
Morning.
Thank you very much for joining us. Kenita was hired in April of 2010 as a casino compliance representative, and her initial assignment was with the Parks Casino. As a casino compliance representative, Kenita conducts compliance reviews to ensure all required controls are complied with by casino licensees. Today, Kenita performs her role as a casino compliance representative at the Valley Forge Casino. Congratulations, Kenita, on this anniversary of your 10 years of employment. And thank you very much for your service.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I would also like to publicly recognize 9 additional employees who have reached 10 years of service with the Pennsylvania Gaming Control Board. Jim Armstrong and Beth Manifesto, both Senior Enforcement Counsel in the Office of Enforcement Counsel. Greg Hazuri, Casino Compliance Representative Supervisor in the Bureau of Casino Compliance. Kayla DeJulius, Investigator Supervisor in the Bureau of Investigations and Enforcement. And the following casino compliance representatives in the Bureau of Casino Compliance: Anthony Caldanetti, Michael Sando, Michael Cam, Michael Donati, and Scott Matinchek. We congratulate all of these employees on their 10-year and 15-year anniversary. Thank you, Chairman. That concludes our recognition ceremony.
Thank you, Kevin. I'm sorry that we had to conduct it in this fashion. We try to be more personal whenever we possibly can. So thank you to Kevin, and thank you to all of you that he's mentioned, both those on video and others that are not on it, for your years of service to the board and your dedication to the citizens of the Commonwealth. Thank you very much. Moving ahead now with the formal agenda. By way of announcements, the board held an executive session meeting yesterday, Tuesday, November 17th, to conduct quasi-judicial deliberations relating to matters coming before the board today. This meeting was done via video conference. Next, we have consideration of a motion to approve the transcript of the September 30th, 2020 meeting. May I have such a motion?
Commissioner Canola moved that the board approve the transcripts of September 30th, 2020 meeting.
Commissioner Logan seconds.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed, the motion's adopted. Now we'll hear from Kevin, Executive Director's report.
Thank you again, Chairman. For this morning's Executive Director's report, I would like to update the members of the board on 2 openings. First, casino licensee Stadium Casino has successfully opened Live Casino Pittsburgh, the first Category 4 casino facility in the Commonwealth, which is located in Greensburg, Pennsylvania, Westmoreland County. A 2-day test period was completed on Saturday, November the 14th, and Sunday, November the 15th. Our Director of the Bureau of Casino Compliance, Chris Schroeder, and his opening team observed the operation of 750 slot machines and 30 table games. And he has reported that the property followed required procedures and internal controls and was satisfactorily prepared to open the casino. Live Casino Pittsburgh also opened its retail sports book with sports wagering operator FanDuel. All aspects of the sports book were observed by board personnel during last weekend's 2-day test period. All gaming revenues for those 2 dates will be donated to 2 charities by Stadium Casino after required gaming taxes are paid. The second opening that just recently completed was at the Wind Creek Casino Hotel in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania. Wind Creek opened its retail sportsbook for a 2-day test period on Monday and Tuesday of this week, with the assistance of the sports wagering operator Betfred Sports. All aspects of the sportsbook appeared to have run smoothly. However, our board staff's evaluation will not be completed until early this afternoon. That concludes my report for this morning. Thank you, Chairman.
Kevin, I just want to comment on behalf of myself and I believe the board. Your staff has just done an extraordinary job to be able to stand up these new sources of revenue for the Commonwealth in the midst of everything else that's going on. I just want to recognize that. Thank you so much, Kevin, and please thank all the people who did this to get those places up and running.
I will do that. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, next we have a report from our Chief Counsel, Doug Sherman.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Our first agenda item relates to an amended statement of policy, which Assistant Chief Counsel Chad Zimmerman will present.
Good morning, Chairman and members of the board. Chad Zimmerman from Office of Chief Counsel. What I have to present to you today is amended statement of policy number 125-235. This original statement of policy was discussed at the last board meeting and involves the approval of the jackpot party progressive wager and several match the dealer wagers, which are side wagers that our gaming lab has determined to be appropriate for offer in the Commonwealth. After the initial statement of policy was approved, board staff was notified of a few technical errors in the pay tables of the jackpot party, of the match the dealer wagers. Those have been corrected and amended. We were also notified by the manufacturer of the jackpot party progressive that there were a set of additional pay tables that they sought to have approved in an updated submission to our gaming lab. Those were vetted by the gaming lab and deemed to be appropriate for offer. The statement of policy has been amended to include all of those changes, and once approved will go up on our board's public website for inspection, and the side wagers may then be offered at casinos within the Commonwealth. I'd be happy to answer any questions on the amendments to the statement of policy. If there are none, I would ask for a motion to approve the amended statement of policy.
Thank you, Chad. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Chad? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Santoni moves that the board adopt the amended statement of policy number 125-235 regarding the jackpot party progressive blackjack wager as described by the Office of Chief Counsel.
Commissioner Smiler seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion's adopted.
Thank you.
Next,
Thank
the
you,
board
Chad.
has Next, the board has 3 petitions before it for consideration. These matters will be decided on the documentary record by agreement of the parties. In each of the matters, the board has, in advance of the meeting, been provided with all documents filed of record. The first petition before the board today is Evolution New Jersey LLC and NetEnt America LLC's joint request for approval of a change of control of an interactive gaming manufacturer licensee. Evolution New Jersey is a company that provides live interactive gaming for interactive gaming operators and certificate holders. It is owned by Evolution Gaming Group AB, a publicly traded company. NetEnt Americas LLC develops and provides interactive games to interactive gaming operators and certificate holders. NetEnt Americas LLC is owned by NetEnt AB, also a publicly traded company. The board has previously granted both Evolution New Jersey LLC and NetEnt Americas LLC interactive gaming manufacturer licenses. Evolution Gaming Group has entered an agreement to purchase NetEnt Americas AB and consolidating their own live interactive games with NetEnt's interactive gaming products under one business. The Office of Enforcement Counsel has reviewed the proposed transaction and has no objection to the parties' proposed change in control, subject to conditions outlined in their answer, and this matter is now ready for the board's consideration.
Thank you, Doug. Are there any questions or comments from board members? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Commissioner Logan moves that the board grant Evolution New Jersey's LLC and NetEnt America's LLC petition for approval of a change of control of a manufacturer license as described by the Office of Chief Counsel and with the conditions requested by the Office of Enforcement Counsel.
Commissioner Mustillo seconds.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? The motion is adopted.
Next before the board is IGT Global Solutions Corporation's petition for approval of a transfer of interest. The transaction is an internal reorganization under the International Gaming Technology PLC umbrella of companies, with the ultimate indirect owner of IGT Global Solutions not changing. IGT Global Solutions currently holds a manufacturer license issued by the board. It is 100% directly owned by IGT, a subsidiary of International Game Technology PLC. IGT Global is requesting the board to approve a change of control from its immediate owner to another entity, Lottomatica Holdings, which is ultimately owned by the same shared parent company. International Gaming Technology PLC, which is a publicly traded company, will be the ultimate parent. Essentially, the transfer of interest will shift ownership of IGT Global Solutions from one stream of subsidiaries to another stream of subsidiaries under that same parent company. The Office of Enforcement Counsel again has no objection to the request, subject to conditions outlined in its answer. And this request is now ready for the board's consideration.
Thank you. Are there any questions from board members on this matter? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Mustillo moves that the board grant IGT Global Solution Corporation's petition for approval of the transfer of interest as described by the Office of Chief Counsel and with the conditions requested by the Office of Enforcement Counsel.
Commissioner Reitzel seconds.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? The motion's adopted.
The final petition before the board is a joint request from Rush Street Interactive PA LLC and Rush Street Interactive LP for approval of a reorganization that will result in Rush Street Interactive LP in part becoming held by a publicly traded entity. By way of background, Rush Street Interactive PA LLC is a board licensed interactive gaming and sports wagering operator. Rush Street Interactive LP is the parent company. DMY Technology Group Incorporated is a publicly traded special purpose acquisition company. formed to effectuate a merger, acquisition, or reorganization with one or more entities. Rush Street Interactive LP and DMY have negotiated a business combination agreement that will result in a combined company being listed on the New York Stock Exchange. The agreement will result in DMY gaining an ownership interest of between 13% and 23% of Rush Street Interactive LP. DMI will thereafter change its name to Rush Street Interactive Incorporated. Following the transaction, Rush Street Interactive LP and therefore Rush Street Interactive PA will still be primarily owned and controlled by its current owners, though a substantial portion of its indirect ownership will be publicly traded. As in the prior matters, the Office of Enforcement Counsel has no objection to this transaction, subject to conditions outlined in their answer. And that's the matter now ready for the board's consideration.
Thank you, Doug. Are there any questions about this matter from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Reitzel moves that the board grant Rush Street Interactive LPs and Rush Street Interactive PA LLCs petition for approval of a reorganization as described by the Office of Chief Counsel and with the conditions requested by the Office of Enforcement Counsel.
Commissioner Santoni seconds.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
All opposed? The motion's adopted.
Next, we have withdrawals and surrenders, as well as 4 reports and recommendations presented by Deputy Chief Counsel Steve Cook.
Morning.
Morning,
The next matter before the board today pertains to several unopposed petitions to withdraw the applications or surrender the credentials of the following individuals, and in one case of business. The individuals are Akira Gemma, Kagetsugi Kazuki, Kazayu Kazuki, Takayu Kazuki, Yoko Kazuki, Kamito Kubo, Asama Nakano, Satasho Sakamoto, Kaori Yamaguchi, Raphael Ashkenazi, Tristan Forrest, Brian Kyle, Thomas Benninger, Michelle Lee Bushore, Joyce Arpin, Jonathan Bennett, Frederick Kell, and Raceway Management Company Incorporated, doing business as Liberty Travel Great Bend. The Office of Enforcement Counsel has no objection to any of these withdrawals or surrenders, and as a result, if the board grants each of these requests, they'd be doing so without prejudice to each of these parties. These matters are now ready for the board's consideration.
Thank you, Steve. Any questions or comments from the board? May I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Santoni moves that the board issue orders to approve the withdrawals and surrenders as described by the Office of Chief Counsel.
Commissioner Smiley seconds.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? The motion's adopted.
Next before the board for consideration are 5 reports and recommendations received from the Office of Hearings and Appeals. These reports and recommendations, along with the complete evidentiary record for each matter, have been provided to the board prior to today's meeting. Additionally, the persons involved in each of these cases have been notified that the board would be taking their matter up today. The first report and recommendation before the board pertains to Damar Lockhart. Mr. Lockhart holds a non-gaming employer registration and was employed as a bar porter at Valley Forge Casino and Resort. On August 5th, 2020, the Office of Enforcement Counsel filed a request for an emergency suspension of Mr. Lockhart's non-gaming employee registration after receiving notice that he had been charged with felony and misdemeanor offenses following allegations that he broke into a drugstore and took merchandise. As a result of these charges, the board's executive director issued an emergency order suspending Mr. Lockhart's non-gaming registration as requested by Enforcement Counsel. A hearing in this matter was held on September 1st, 2020. OEC appeared offering testimony and documentary evidence. Despite receiving notice, Mr. Lockhart did not participate in that hearing and it was held in his absence. Based upon the evidence presented, the hearing officer issued a report and recommendation recommending that Mr. Lockhart's suspension remain in place, and that is the recommendation before the board.
Thank you, Steve. Are there any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Smiler moves that the board adopt the report and recommendation issued by the Office of Hearings and Appeals regarding the suspension of Damar Lockhart's non-gaming employee registration as described by the Office of Chief Counsel.
Commissioner Kernodle seconds.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? The motion's adopted.
The next report and recommendation before the board today involves a request for removal from the voluntary self-exclusion list made by an individual with the initials GN. The hearing in this matter was held before a board hearing officer on September 16th, 2020. OEC appeared presenting testimony and documentary evidence at that hearing. GN also appeared and testified on his own behalf. The evidence presented at the hearing established that on September 2nd, 2017, GN entered Sands Bethworks Casino and requested to be placed on the self-exclusion list for a 5-year period. The casino compliance representative who placed GN on the list testified that he conducted the mandatory interview with GN, screened GN for signs of intoxication, finding none, explained the process of being placed on the list, the consequences of the exclusion period options of either 1 or 5 years or a lifetime, and thereafter completed all of the required paperwork and procedures. During the process, GN verbally requested and initialed a checklist acknowledging that he desired a 5-year self-exclusion period. At the hearing, GN acknowledged that he requested to be placed on the self-exclusion list, stating that he wanted to spend more time with his family, particularly his father who was ill. He testified, however, that he was under the influence of alcohol at the time, and during his self-exclusion interview, he had only requested a 1-year exclusion, or he meant to only request a 1-year exclusion. He also indicated that he could not see what he was signing, and he trusted the casino compliance representative to complete the paperwork with his, in line with his wishes. The report and recommendation subsequently issued at this hearing. In that report and recommendation, the hearing officer recommends that GN's petition be denied based upon his finding that the testimony of the casino compliance representative was more credible than that of GN, and that is the recommendation before the board.
Are there any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Commissioner Kernodle moved that the board adopts the report and recommendation issued by the Office of Hearing and Appeals regarding GN's petition for early removal from the PGCB involuntary exclusion list as described by the Office of Chief Counsel, and that the petition be denied.
Commissioner Logan seconds.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? The motion's adopted.
The next report and recommendation before the board today pertains to another request to be removed from the voluntary self-exclusion list. On September 20th, 2009, an individual with the initials MW entered Presque Isle Downs and Casino and requested to be placed on the lifetime self-exclusion list. MW has now petitioned to be removed from that list. OEC ultimately objected to that request, and a hearing was held on September 17th. According to the testimony and records presented, the casino compliance representative who placed MW on the list indicated that MW's husband was present for the intake interview, but that MW signed a non-coercion form indicating that she was placing herself on the self-exclusion list of her own volition. The casino compliance representative further testified that he conducted the mandatory interview with MW, explained the process of being placed on the list, the consequences, and the various exclusion period options. At that point, MW signed an acknowledgement form selecting a lifetime self-exclusion period. At the hearing held in this matter, MW appeared and testified on her own behalf, specifically testifying that she understood what she was doing at the time that she placed herself on the list, but that she did so only because her husband was adamantly opposed to gambling. His health was declining due to a dementia diagnosis, and that she agreed to place herself on the lifetime self-exclusion list to appease him. She further testified that her husband has later passed away in December of 2018. She is now 79 years old and would like to visit the casino with her friends. In the report and recommendation issued subsequent to the hearing officer found that while MW appeared sincere in her testimony, he did not think there was sufficient evidence to allow her to be removed from the lifetime self-exclusion list, and that is the recommendation before the board.
Are there any questions or comments on this matter from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Commissioner Logan moves that the board reject the report and recommendation issued by the Office of Hearings and Appeals regarding MW's petition for removal from the PGCB voluntary self-exclusion list, and that MW be removed from the voluntary self-exclusion list.
Commissioner Mustillo seconds.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? The motion's adopted.
The next report and recommendation before the board today pertains to a request for recovery of winnings while on the board self-exclusion list. As the board is aware, when self-excluded persons are found in Pennsylvania casinos, the act authorizes that any winnings possessed by the person can be confiscated from him or her and used to support compulsive and problem gambling programs. In this case, TS filed a petition on January 15th, 2020, requesting the board return monies confiscated from him while on the self-exclusion list. The hearing in this matter was held on September 1st, 2020. The Office of Enforcement Counsel and TS, with his counsel, participated in that hearing. Additionally, I believe TS's counsel is present or intended to be present on the phone today and would like to address the board today. I'd first like to give a summary before allowing him that opportunity, however. Specifically, on March 19th, 2017, TS placed himself on the board's voluntary self-exclusion list for a one-year period. According to TS, he placed himself on the list not because he was a problem gambler, but because his daughter at the time was terminally ill and he did not want to use gaming as an escape from dealing with that situation. TS's daughter has unfortunately since passed away. According to the other evidence presented at the hearing, during his self-exclusion interview, it was explained to TS that even after a one-year term of self-exclusion passed, he would have to take affirmative steps to remove himself from the list. TS testified that he did not recall being informed of this and therefore took no steps to remove himself from the list even after the one-year term expired. More than 2 years after self-excluding, TS entered the Rivers Casino Philadelphia, believing he was no longer on the self-exclusion list. At that time, he gamed and won a $1,457.76 jackpot, which was confiscated as the result of his self-excluded status. Also taken was $19.20 in credits on the slot machine he was playing. Additionally, he was charged with trespassing, though those criminal charges were later withdrawn. Following this incident, TS immediately took steps to remove himself from the self-excluded list, and he is no longer on the list. After hearing all of the evidence presented, a report and recommendation was issued with the hearing officer recommending that TS be permitted to recover one half of the jackpot at issue, or $728.88, as well as the credits remaining on the slot machine, so a total of $748.08. The hearing officer's rationale in making this recommendation was that it was really only a technicality that TS was on the self-exclusion list, but he did bear some responsibility for not taking himself off the list. So the hearing officer's recommendation, as I indicated, was that the jackpot be split between him, TS, and that the board keep half of it. Ultimately, as I indicated, TS's counsel, Danny Elmore, did indicate he wanted to address the board today. I'm not sure if he is on the line. If he is, I'd ask him to speak at this point.
Mr. Elmore, are you available to speak on behalf of your client? Hearing no response, we'll proceed. Are there any questions or comments from the board members? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Mustillo moves that the board adopt, in part, the report and recommendation issued by the Office of Hearings and Appeals regarding TS's petition to recover monies while on the PGCB's voluntary self-exclusion list. and that the petition be granted in total, and that TS recover $1,476.96 confiscated from him.
Commissioner Reitzel seconds.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion's adopted.
The report and recommendation pertaining to Christina Zick is the final matter before the board today. By way of background, on February 25th, 2015, the board placed Ms. Zick on the involuntary exclusion list by default judgment after it was found that on July 2nd, 2014, she took a wallet left on a slot chair by another patron at the Sands Bethlehem Casino. In May of 2020, Ms. Zick filed a petition requesting removal from the exclusion list. A hearing was held on August 13th, 2020, with Enforcement Counsel appearing and offering testimonial as well as documentary evidence. Ms. Zick did not appear at that hearing. However, the next day, she contacted the Office of Hearings and Appeals asking that the record be reopened. The hearing officer complied, and a second hearing was held on September 9th, 2020. Ms. Zick appeared at that hearing and testified on her own behalf. During her testimony, she stated that both during the time or around the time of the incident at Sands and since that 2014 incident, she has endured numerous personal ordeals, medical issues, and tragedies. She expressed remorse for her conduct at the casino and stated that her placement on the list has caused her embarrassment. She has not visited a casino since her placement on the list and would like to be able to go back now to at least see shows and have dinner. After hearing all of the evidence presented, the report and recommendation issued by the hearing officer recommends that Ms. Zick be removed from the list since more than 5 years has passed since her placement on the list, as well as the evidence presented by her relative to her personal circumstances. And this is the recommendation before the board.
Thank you, Steve. Are there any questions or comments from the board members on this matter? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Reitzel moves that the board reject the report and recommendation issued by the Office of Hearings and Appeals regarding Christina Zick's petition for removal from the PGCB's involuntary exclusion list, and that Ms. Zick remain on the PGCB's involuntary exclusion list.
Commissioner Santoni seconds.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Motion's adopted.
And that
Next, we
concludes
have-
the matters of the Office of Chief Counsel.
Thank you. Next up, we have the Bureau of Licensing, and we have Sue Hensel, who just got her 15-year recognition. Go ahead, Sue.
Thank you, Chairman Barish and members of the board. Before the board today will be license consideration of 1 sports wagering operator, 1 video gaming terminal operator, and 4 video gaming terminal establishments. In addition, there will be 454 principals and key gaming and non-gaming employee applicants. Finally, there will be consideration of 4 gaming service provider applicants. First for your consideration is a sports wagering operator license for NYX Digital Gaming USA LLC. NYX Digital Gaming USA LLC is a Las Vegas-based business that offers online and retail sports wagering technologies and services. Bureau of Investigations and Enforcement has completed its investigation, and the Bureau of Licensing has provided you with a background investigation and suitability report. I have provided you with a draft order and ask that the board consider the order to approve the sports wagering operator license.
Enforcement Counsel has no objection.
Thank you, Cyrus. Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Commissioner Canola moved that the board grants a sports wagering operator license as described by the Bureau of Licensing.
Commissioner Logan seconds.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? The motion's adopted.
Next is a video gaming terminal operator license for Excel Entertainment Gaming PA LLC. A VGT operator owns, services, or maintains VGTs for placement and operation at truck stop establishments. Excel Entertainment Gaming PA LLC was previously issued a conditional VGT operator license. The Bureau of Investigations and Enforcement has completed its investigation, and the Bureau of Licensing has provided you with the background investigation and suitability report. I provided you with a draft order and ask that you consider the order to license Excel Entertainment Gaming PA LLC.
Enforcement Council has no objection.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Santoni moves that the board grant the video gaming terminal operator license as described by the Bureau of Licensing.
Commissioner Smiler seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion's adopted.
Next for your consideration is a VGT establishment license for Raceway Management Company, Inc., doing business as Liberty Travel Plaza, Mount Cobb. VGT establishments are truck stops seeking to place VGTs at their businesses. Raceway Management Company, Inc., doing business as Liberty Travel Plaza, Mount Cobb, which is located at 1174 Mount Cobb Road in Lake Ariel, was previously conditionally licensed. The Bureau of Investigations and Enforcement has completed its investigation, including an evaluation that the company meets the VGT establishment eligibility criteria, and the Bureau of Licensing has provided you with a background investigation and suitability report. Once fully licensed, the establishment can continue forward toward completing the steps necessary to commence VGT gaming. I have provided you with a draft order and ask that you consider the order to license Raceway Management Company, Inc., doing business as Liberty Travel Plaza, Mount Cobb.
Enforcement Council has no objection.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Smiler moves that the board grant the video gaming terminal establishment license as described by the Bureau of Licensing.
Commissioner Kanoto seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion's adopted.
In addition, there is consideration of one-year license extensions for conditionally licensed VGT establishments, Pilot Travel Centers LLC, doing business as Pilot Travel Centers number 001 in Mill Hill, Pilot Travel Centers number 336 in Du Bois, and Pilot Travel Centers number 620 in Smithton. These establishments were granted one-year conditional licenses approximately 1 year ago. Under the Gaming Act and board regulations, the board is authorized to extend the licenses for an additional year for good cause. In each case, the background investigation and suitability report process for the establishment is continuing. I have provided you with draft orders and ask that you consider the grant of one-year license extensions.
Enforcement Council has no objection.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board on this matter? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Commissioner Kanoto moves that the board grants the extension approval for conditional establishment licensees as described by the Bureau of License.
Commissioner Logan seconds.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion's adopted.
Additionally, there are principal and key employee licenses for your consideration. Prior to this meeting, the Bureau of Licensing provided you with a proposed order for 9 principals and 5 key employees. I ask that the board consider the order approving these licenses.
Enforcement Council has no objection.
Questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Commissioner Logan moves the board grant the principal and key employee licenses as described by the Bureau of Licensing.
Commissioner Mustio seconds.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? The motion's adopted.
There are also temporary licenses. Prior to this meeting, the Bureau of Licensing provided you with an order regarding the issuance of temporary licenses for 4 principals and 5 key employees. I ask that the board consider the order approving these licenses.
Enforcement Council has no objection.
Questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Mustio moves that the board grant temporary principal and key employee credentials as described by the Bureau of Licensing.
Commissioner Reitzel seconds.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The motion's adopted.
Next are gaming permits and non-gaming registrations. Prior to this meeting, the Bureau of Licensing provided you with a list of 304 individuals to whom the Bureau has granted temporary or full occupation permits and 117 individuals to whom the Bureau has granted registrations under the authority delegated to the Bureau of Licensing. I ask that the board consider a motion approving the order.
Enforcement Council has no objection.
Questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Commissioner Reitzel moves that the board approve the applications for gaming employee occupation permits and non-gaming employee registrations as described by the Bureau of Licensing.
Commissioner Sansoni seconds.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? The motion's adopted.
The next matters for your consideration are withdrawal requests. In each case, the license or permit is no longer required. For today's meeting, I have provided the board with a list of 5 key and 1 gaming applicants. I ask that the board consider the orders approving these withdrawals.
Enforcement Council has no objection.
Questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Sansoni moves that the board grant the withdrawal of key and gaming employee applications as described by the Bureau of Licensing.
Commissioner Smiler seconds.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? The motion's adopted.
Finally, for your consideration are gaming service provider registrations. The Bureau of Licensing provided you with an order and an attached list of 4 registered gaming service provider applicants. I ask that the board consider the order registering these gaming service providers.
Enforcement Council has no objection.
Questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Smiler moves that the board approve the gaming service provider registrations as described by the Bureau of Licensing.
Commissioner Kernodle seconds.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? The motion's adopted.
That concludes the matters of the Bureau of Licensing.
Thanks so much, Susan. And now we'll move across to Chief Enforcement Counsel, Cyrus Petrie. Good morning, Cyrus.
Good morning, Chairman, members of the board. Today, the Office of Enforcement Counsel will present 8 matters for the board's consideration, in which we will request the approval of 2 revocations, 3 suspensions, and 3 involuntary exclusions. The next 5 matters on the agenda consist of enforcement actions in which the Office of Enforcement Counsel filed complaints seeking the revocation of 2 gaming employee occupation permits, the suspension of 2 non-gaming employee registrations, and 1 gaming employee occupation permit, all of which were issued by the board. The complaints have been filed with the board's Office of Hearings and Appeal and properly served upon the individual named in each complaint. The individual named in each complaint failed to respond within 30 days as required by board regulation. As a result, the Office of Enforcement Counsel filed a request for default judgment in each instance and properly served the same upon each respondent. Therefore, the facts in each complaint are deemed admitted. All filed documents have been provided to the board, and the matters are presently ripe for the board's consideration. Deputy Chief Enforcement Counsel Dustin Miller will provide a brief summary of the facts and make a request for the appropriate board action in each matter.
Morning, Chairman Barish, members of the board. Dustin Miller on behalf of the Office of Enforcement Counsel. The next matter on the agenda for the board's consideration is the suspension of the non-gaming employee registration issued to Emily Glenn. Ms. Glenn had been employed as a food court attendant, cashier at Valley Forge Casino Resort. Ms. Glenn was arrested for participating in an attempted burglary. She was charged criminally for her actions. Ms. Glenn had been terminated by Valley Forge prior to this incident and is currently not working in Pennsylvania's gaming industry. This time, the Office of Enforcement Counsel requests that the board suspend the non-gaming employee registration issued to Emily Glenn.
Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Commissioner Canolo moved that the board approves the suspension of Emily Glenn's non-gaming employee registration as described by the Office of Enforcement Counsel.
Commissioner Logan seconds.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? The motion's adopted.
The next matter on the agenda for the board's consideration is the revocation of the gaming level 2 employee permit issued to John Jacobs. Mr. Jacobs had been employed as a pit manager at the Meadows Racetrack and Casino. An internal investigation conducted by the Meadows revealed that Mr. Jacobs directed a scheme in which match play coupons were recycled by Meadows employees after they were used by a patron and then returned to that patron so that they could be used again by that same patron. Mr. Jacobs was terminated from his employment for his actions. Mr. Jacobs is not currently employed in Pennsylvania's gaming industry. This time, the Office of Enforcement Counsel requests that the board revoke the gaming level 2 employee occupation permit issued to John Jacobs.
Questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Commissioner Logan moves that the board approve the revocation of John Jacobs' gaming level 2 employee occupation permit as described by the Office of Enforcement Counsel.
Commissioner Mustia seconds.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? The motion's adopted.
The next matter on the agenda for the board's consideration is the revocation of the gaming employee occupation permit issued to Daniel Raymond, who was previously employed as a security officer at Lady Luck Casino. Mr. Raymond was observed smoking marijuana near the armored car entrance to the casino while working at the casino. Mr. Raymond was terminated by Lady Luck for his actions and was cited by Pennsylvania State Police. Mr. Raymond is not currently employed in the Pennsylvania gaming industry. This time, the Office of Enforcement Counsel requested the board revoke the gaming employee occupation permit issued to Daniel Raymond.
Questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Mustia moves that the board approve the revocation of Daniel Raymond's gaming employee occupation permit as described by the Office of Enforcement Counsel.
Commissioner Reitzel seconds.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? The motion's adopted.
The next matter on the agenda for the board's consideration is the suspension of the non-gaming employee registration issued to Mark Redfern. Mr. Redfern was employed as an EBS attendant at Harrah's Philadelphia Casino and Racetrack. Mr. Redfern was arrested and charged with multiple weapons charges, including a felony offense. Charges remain pending in Philadelphia County. Mr. Redfern is not currently employed in the Pennsylvania gaming industry. This time, the Office of Enforcement Counsel requested the board suspend the non-gaming employee registration issued to Mark Redfern, also known as Christopher Redfern.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
Commissioner Reitzel moves that the board approve the suspension of Redfern's, also known as Christopher Redfern's, non-gaming employee registration as described by the Office of Enforcement Counsel.
Commissioner Santoni seconds.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? The motion's adopted.
The next matter on the agenda for the board's consideration is the complaint to suspend the gaming employee occupation permit held by Naima Hazel Ann Sway. Ms. Sway was employed as a cage cashier at Parks Casino. Naima Hazel Ann Sway allegedly committed theft in the amount of $6,318.66 from a TD bank account through the passing of fraudulent checks and was criminally charged by the Lower Moreland Police Department with multiple felonies relating to forgery and access device fraud. Ms. Sway is not currently employed in Pennsylvania's gaming industry. As these charges are still pending, the Office of Enforcement Counsel now requests that the board suspend the gaming employee occupation permit held by Naima Hazel Ann Sway.
Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Santoni moves that the board approve the suspension of Naima Hazel Ann Sway's gaming employee occupation permit as described by the Office of Enforcement Counsel.
Commissioner Smiler seconds.
In favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? All opposed? The motion's adopted.
The remaining matters on the agenda consist of enforcement actions in which the Office of Enforcement Counsel filed petitions seeking the involuntary exclusion of individuals whose presence in a licensed facility are inimical to the interests of the Commonwealth and their licensed gaming therein. In each instance, the petition for exclusion has been filed with the Board's Office of Hearings and Appeal and properly served upon the individual named in the petition. The individual named in each petition failed to respond within 30 days as required by board regulation. As a result, the Office of Enforcement Counsel filed a request for default judgment in each instance and properly served the same upon each named individual. Therefore, all facts in each petition are deemed admitted. All filed documents have been provided to the board, and the matters are presently ripe for the board's consideration. In each instance, if the board orders the proposed exclusion, each individual's photo, personal identifiers, and a summary of their inimical conduct will be placed on the board's public website. Once again, Deputy Chief Enforcement Counsel Dustin Miller will provide a brief summary of the facts and make a request for the appropriate board action in each matter.
The next matter on the agenda is a request to place Ernestine Johnson on the involuntary exclusion list. Ernestine Johnson illegally utilized her sister's Pennsylvania driver's license to claim a jackpot at Parks Casino for $11,579.28. Ms. Johnson hit the jackpot but could not claim it because she was on the self-exclusion list. At the time, Ernestine Johnson fraudulently identified herself to casino employees as her sister. Because she could not produce identification proving that she was her sister, the jackpot was withheld pending proper identification. Ms. Johnston obtained a duplicate copy of her sister's driver's license and claimed the jackpot using her sister's identification. Ms. Johnson's sister did not become aware that the jackpot was claimed in her name until viewing her Parks Casino win-loss statement in preparation for filing her income tax return. Ernestine Johnston was criminally charged by the Pennsylvania State Police with defiant trespass and exhibit another driver's license. She entered a guilty plea to both charges. The matter is now before the board to consider the placement of Ernestine Johnson on the board's involuntary exclusion list.
Are there any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Smiler moves that the board approve the addition of Ernestine Johnson to the PGCB involuntary exclusion list as described by the Office of Enforcement Counsel.
Commissioner Canoodle seconds.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? The motion's adopted.
The next matter on the agenda for the board's consideration is a petition for the exclusion of Don Tran. Mr. Tran is a former dealer at Rivers Casino, Philadelphia. Mr. Tran paid out losing wagers and improperly exchanged chips for the incorrect value to the benefit of a patron 20 times, resulting in a loss of approximately $9,410 to the casino. As a result, Mr. Tran was arrested and criminally charged with 1 felony and 4 misdemeanor theft and fraud-related offenses. Also, Mr. Tran was terminated by Rivers Philadelphia. The Office of Enforcement Counsel filed a request for a temporary emergency order to suspend the gaming employee occupation permit of Mr. Tran. Mr. Tran's gaming employee occupation permit was suspended by the board on May 20th, 2020. At this time, the Office of Enforcement Counsel requested the board exclude Don Tran.
Are there any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Commissioner Canoodle moved that the board approve the addition of Don Tran to the PGCB involuntary exclusion list described by the Office of Enforcement Counsel.
Commissioner Logan seconds.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? The motion's adopted.
The final matter on the agenda for the board's consideration is a request to place Kenneth Wilson on the board's involuntary exclusion list. Mr. Wilson reached into a chip rack at Rivers, Philadelphia and stole $220 in gaming chips and exited the property. Mr. Wilson returned to the casino and cashed in the chips, at which time he was apprehended by police. Mr. Wilson was permanently evicted from Rivers, Philadelphia and criminally charged for his actions. This time, the Office of Enforcement Counsel requested the board place Kenneth Wilson on the board's involuntary exclusion list.
Are there any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion, please?
Commissioner Logan moves that the board approve the addition of Kenneth Wilson to the PGCB involuntary exclusion list as described by the Office of Enforcement Counsel.
Commissioner Mustio seconds.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? The motion's adopted.
Thank you.
That concludes our business.
Thank you very much, Cyrus. Thank you for Dustin. Thank you, Dustin. Okay, that appears to conclude today's business. The next public meeting of the board will be held on Wednesday, December 16th at 10 a.m. Given the apparently continuing uncertain times, I would advise that all interested parties monitor the board's website for the latest information as to how and in what form that meeting will be conducted. May I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Mustio moves for adjournment.
You're on mute, Merrill.
Commissioner Reitzel seconds.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed, the motion's adopted and we are adjourned. Thank you, one and all. Remain safe.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Chairman Barish, you're
Yeah, what am I-
still on. Okay,
Yeah.
you're looking probably for the leave button.
Yeah, I gotta find it.
It's usually,
Yeah, where are we? Hold on a minute. I gotta go back in. Leave. There we are.
there it is. All right, have a good day.
See you. Bye.
Bye. Kelly, are you still there?
I am. I was just finishing notes.
Okay,
Leaving now.
have a good day.